The invasion fleet descends. The Verk's Dominion had never known defeat. Their empire spanned 6 to 7 star systems. Their warships darkened skies, and their soldiers were the stuff of galactic nightmares. On the bridge of the dreadnought Devourer of Suns, Supreme Marshal Zorn Vek examined the spinning blue and green orb before him. Planet designation, Earth, the science officer droned. Species, human. Pre-FTL, no planetary shields, no orbital defenses. Estimated resistance, negligible. Zorn let out a rasping chuckle, the sound more like gravel grinding in a meat grinder. Another backwater to burn, he said, his voice laced with contempt. Prepare the drop pods. I want their cities groveling within the hour. He didn't bother reading the fine print on the data report. Gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared. Atmospheric density, breathable. Terrain, varied. Native biosphere, aggressive. Minor notations, irrelevant. Their standard exosuits could handle anything. The Dominion had conquered worlds of acid rain, frozen methane, and even one with native volcanic life forms. Earth would fall like the rest. He tapped a clawed finger against the armrest. Deploy the Iron Spear Legion. Dozens of gunmetal gray drop ships broke formation and descended through Earth's atmosphere, trailing fire like vengeful comets. Inside, Verk's troopers barked orders and checked their weapon systems, armored from neck to toe in reinforced alloys. Each one was 10 feet tall, bred for war, and armed with enough firepower to level a city block. ETA, 60-second to touchdown, came the mechanical voice over the intercom. None of them were afraid. They should have been. The first drop pod slammed into a park in Kansas City. Locals stared, phones raised, filming what they assumed was some kind of viral marketing stunt. The hatch hissed. Steam belched. The Verk's commander stepped out and immediately collapsed like a sack of bricks. His suit crumpled beneath him. Groaning, he tried to rise, only to falter again. The rest of the squad followed, stumbling out like drunks on stilts. One managed 2 steps before his knee hyperextended with a wet pop. What is this? The commander wheezed. His internal servos shrieked, straining under the pull of Earth's gravity. Bones ached. Muscles trembled. Their bodies were built for lighter worlds. Above, the Devourer of Suns watched in confusion. Reports poured in from other landing sites. Similar failures, injuries, suit collapses. Entire squads immobilized within minutes. Zorn frowned for the first time in his career. Explain. The science officer looked up, pale. Sir, Earth's gravity is over 3 times stronger than the Verk's homeworld. We assumed it was an error in their planetary classification. Zorn stayed at the view screen as another squad face-planted onto a beach, barely able to lift their own weapons. From orbit, Earth didn't look like much. But down there, it was dragging his elite soldiers to the ground, crushing their arrogance with every step. Begin recalibration protocols, he snapped. We'll adapt. We always adapt. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and down on Earth, humanity watched with growing confusion and amusement as the so-called conquerors couldn't even stand up straight. Boots hit the date, then the date hits back. Corporal Jex Ma had trained for war on ice planets, gas giants, and zero-gravity arenas. But nothing had prepared him for this. He lay sprawled in a suburban driveway somewhere in the North American quadrant, groaning under the weight of his own armor. The moment his boots hit Earth's surface, he'd felt it, a crushing force yanking his limbs downward like invisible chains. His exosuit stabilizers screamed in protest. His knees gave out. His pride wasn't far behind. Around him, his squad wasn't faring any better. Verk's soldiers, each bred to be an apex predator, now writhed in helpless agony across flowerbeds and front lawns. One had landed on a child's trampoline, bounced once, and then rolled off with a howl as his armor locked up midair. Another had tried to crawl toward the road and passed out halfway through the journey. Across the street, a middle-aged woman in a bathrobe and bunny slippers filmed the entire scene on her phone. "Stan," she called inside. "You've got to see this. The aliens are flopping around like dying cockroaches." The Verks hadn't even drawn their weapons yet. Up the block, Sergeant Pallas tried to rise by anchoring himself against a mailbox. The gravity servos on his knees buzzed furiously. Increase compensation by 30%. He barked to his suit AI. Error. Maximum gravity limit reached. Motor overload imminent. Curse this rock, he growled as he toppled sideways, taking the mailbox with him. Meanwhile, Earth Defense Forces had finally scrambled to respond. At Joint Base Andrews, Captain Elena Rivera stood dumbfounded, watching the surveillance feed. "You're telling me the invaders are stuck?" she asked. "They can't even stand," her lieutenant replied, barely suppressing a grin. "We've got drone footage from 15 cities. They're just lying there. Some are trying to crawl. A few appear to be crying, though we're still trying to confirm that." Rivera blinked. "And they are wearing full power armor." "Yes. Very impressive stuff, but apparently not designed for Earth's gravity." On social media, things escalated quickly. The hashtags #GravityFTW, #AliensDown, and #NoLegDay trended globally. People dubbed the invaders the Fall Guys. Live streams racked up millions of views as Earthlings watched extraterrestrial warriors flail like overturned turtles. Even Earth's military grew hesitant to engage. Soldiers surrounded one squad with tasers, only to find the aliens already incapacitated by the weight of their own tech. In some areas, paramedics were called, not to help humans, but to prevent the aliens from being crushed by their own gear. "This is the most polite invasion I've ever seen," one British officer joked. "They brought their own body bags." Back in orbit, Supreme Marshal Zorn Vec paced furiously. "How is this possible?" he barked. "Did we not conquer the jungle moons of Zillah?" "Yes, Marshal," the science officer replied nervously. "But those had gravity at 0.3 standard. Earth is at 1.0. For us, it's like trying to sprint through liquid steel." Zorn's fists clenched. His soldiers weren't failing because of enemy resistance. They were losing to gravity. And down below, the humans were starting to realize they might not need to fight back at all. The resistance that wasn't needed. Supreme Marshal Zorn Vec had faced many humiliations in his long career, but none as absurd as the sight of his most elite soldiers crumpled like ragdolls on Earth's surface. His fury burned hotter than the sun at the heart of a collapsing star. But even that could not erase the growing embarrassment. From the bridge of the Devourer of Suns, he watched his ground forces through the surveillance feed, struggling to rise from the pavement, each failed attempt more pathetic than the last. "We need to recalibrate the suits," Zorn snarled, his claws digging into the armrest. "Now." "It's already been done, Marshal," the chief technician replied, his voice taut with desperation. "We've boosted compensation by 50%, but our soldiers are still being overwhelmed. Gravity on Earth is stronger than anything we've encountered." Zorn's mandibles twitched in frustration. "What's the point of recalibration if it's not working? We've never failed like this before." Meanwhile, Earth's inhabitants were beginning to notice something strange. There had been reports earlier, strange alien craft landing, but no attacks, no explosions. Just aliens. Standing around. Or not standing at all. "We should try and help them," one of the internet threads suggested, half joking. "Help? They're invaders," replied another. "But they can't even get up." And so, Earth's response was as unique as the planet itself. Humanity decided to have fun with it. People flocked to the streets to gawk at the helpless invaders, some offering unsolicited assistance, though many more were content to take selfies with the alien soldiers, who, despite their towering exosuits, seemed to be no more dangerous than a toddler in a too-big costume. One Verk soldier, lying face down on the date, weakly reached for his weapon. Before he could even lift it, a group of teenagers approached, offering him a banana. "Hey, buddy, you look like you need some potassium," one of them said, snapping a picture for social media. The Verk soldier could only grunt weakly, his exosuit unable to support the effort of rising. Meanwhile, military forces from around the world surveyed the situation, watching the aliens struggle, bewildered by their own technology's failure. There was no need to launch an offensive. The invasion was already over. In one particular district in New York, Sergeant Elena Rivera, who had initially been cautious, now found herself chuckling as she watched the latest footage. A squad of Verk soldiers had managed to crawl into a local park, only to find themselves immobilized in front of a family's barbecue. The father, confused but amused, offered them a cold drink. "You guys look like you've had a rough day," he said, handing one of the soldiers a can of soda. "Take a load off." The soldier, still unable to move, could only blink in helpless frustration. "We don't need to fight them," Rivera muttered under her breath. "Earth's gravity's doing the job for us." Back in orbit, Zornvek received the news with growing dread. "Are you telling me that these creatures, these humans, are merely watching as my forces collapse under their own weight?" "Yes, Marshal," the science officer replied. "We've requested their surrender, but they are more focused on live-streaming our humiliation." "Prepare the retreat," Zorn muttered, his rage subsiding into reluctant resignation. "Earth is a death world, and it's not worth the effort." Defeat from the ground up. Supreme Marshal Zorn Vek paced furiously on the command deck of the Devourer of Suns, his claws digging into the metallic floors, leaving scratches that would never be erased. His face was a mixture of disbelief and barely contained rage. He had led his people to the pinnacle of power, and now, this? Defeated by a primitive planet with nothing more than its natural gravity. "We've been here for days," Zorn growled, his voice thick with frustration. "Our forces are immobile, and those humans, they refuse to fight. They mock us." His second-in-command, Lieutenant Urza, stood at attention. "Marshal, we can salvage this. We've identified one potential advantage." Zorn shot him a glare, his mandibles clicking. "What advantage?" "They've already rendered our finest warriors useless." Urza hesitated, then pointed to the tactical display. "We've observed some of their astronauts. They seem capable of adapting to higher gravity, at least in short bursts. Some humans, especially those in specialized suits, appear to manage Earth's gravity with no trouble." Zorn narrowed his eyes. "And you think this planet's inhabitants have the strength to adapt?" "Not just adapt," Urza said. "They embrace it. They train in their gravity. We could be dealing with something far more dangerous than we expected." Zorn fell silent for a moment, contemplating this new revelation. The humans had grown accustomed to their world's relentless weight, not to mention their uncanny survival instincts. He had underestimated them, and that could cost him everything. On Earth, a different kind of battle was unfolding. In a conference room on the International Space Station, Commander Elena Rivera sat with her team. The latest intelligence was clear. The Verks had given up on their invasion and were preparing to leave. The humans hadn't needed to fire a single shot to win. "We've sent them a message," Rivera said, voice steady. "Told them that we'll offer them safe passage off Earth. We don't need to wipe them out. We just need them to leave and never come back." She paused, then added with a wry grin. "But I did tell them we'd throw them a party if they ever do decide to return. You know, for old time's sake." The room chuckled, but there was a sense of pride that couldn't be ignored. Humanity had just fended off a galactic empire, without so much as breaking a sweat. Back in orbit, Zorn watched the signal from Earth's forces. His face was a mixture of humiliation and begrudging respect. "Very well," he muttered. "We will leave. For now." The retreat order was issued, and one by one, the Verk ships began to ascend from Earth's atmosphere, leaving behind the world that had so thoroughly humbled them. As Zorn watched Earth shrink into the distance, a thought lingered in his mind. Earth may not be a threat today, but they will remember us. He clenched his fist. "Next time, we'll be ready. And next time, gravity will not stop us." But for now, the Verk's Dominion had learned their lesson. Never underestimate a death world, or the humans who call it home.